The Wolverine was scared? Nah. Hugh Jackman? Well, actually, he was. As a kid, he said I was very anxious in many ways. He had so many fears. He was afraid of heights, he was afraid of the dark, he was afraid of what people thought, and he said I hated that prison of fear. He struggled with that all throughout childhood into adulthood. I have a story of struggle too. I'm a former active duty Marine. Before the girls, I would go elk hunting on my own, mountain climbing, rock climbing. I'm a guy's guy, and a pretty tough one at that. But all that toughness would not have allowed me to get through the last 3 years. We know from the research that being a parent, you lose about 70% of your socialization time with other adults. That's as a couple. As a single parent, yeah, it's worse. Just before Trinity and Naomi turned 2, I was given primary custody. I was blessed. But on my own, it was hard. Brene Brown's research tells the world what men already know. Never appear weak. So for a strong man to ask for help feels like being vulnerable and weak. So get how much fun this was. When I did get the courage up to reach out in an attempt to build a support network with other mothers while my daughters played at the park, it was rejected. Turns out this is pretty common. Maria Chu, professor at the University of Toronto and lead author on a study of single fathers, states, what is particularly striking about our study findings is the socialization factor. Single fathers are less likely to have relationships and connections within and between social networks that would work to enhance their health, productivity, and well-being. I was trying to build MindEDU, working difficult, long hours, short on sleep, the girls with me full-time, wondering if I was providing enough nurturing, living off my remaining dwindling savings with no income and no support. It was a lot of stress. Now, I knew stress could be a killer for me, eventually, but the science about what stress would do to my daughters at such a young age? By now you know about ACEs from our relationship video and how devastating the impact of stress is when it's built into the brains and bodies of young children. Julie Gottman talks about the magic moments when we can teach our children emotional intelligence. Those magic moments are when they're emotional. And when we're stressed, those moments often trigger us. I knew I had to do something. About 20 years ago, I lived in Madison, Wisconsin. It has a rich mindfulness community, much of it based on Jon Kabat-Zinn's groundbreaking work at the University of Massachusetts Medical School and his mindfulness-based stress reduction program. 3 years ago, I felt like a scene from Star Wars. Help me, Jon Kabat-Zinn. You're my only hope. Driven by the desire to be the best father I could to my baby girls, I set myself down to meditate. Apparently, after 20 years, it was the drive I needed. I've been close to a 90% consistency, setting for 10, and when I have time, 20 minutes or so every morning. It is the only thing I can attribute to being able to control my stress and get through these last 3 years. And you know what Hugh Jackman did to break out of his prison of fear? Meditation. There's a very long list of successful people who are near disciples about how their meditation practice has profoundly given them gifts of calm and insight. Just to name a few: Bill and Melinda Gates, Jennifer Lopez, Katy Perry, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Tom Hanks. I could go on and on and on. So, what is mindfulness and how is it different from meditation? In Jon Kabat-Zinn's book, Wherever You Go, There You Are, that helped introduce mindfulness and meditation to the West, he made it clear. Mindfulness has nothing to do with Buddhism. Here's what it is. It's the non-judgmental, that's a key piece, the non-judgmental awareness of the present moment. The practice of meditation has been around since the Buddha, and he lived 560 BC. So that's about 2,600 years of perfecting meditation to get to mindfulness. A research article published in October 2017 showed the massive increase in scientific articles and news in the media on both meditation and mindfulness. Perhaps even more significant, A Google search for meditation yields 492 million results. So how common is the practice of meditation? Well, among Americans, the National Interview Survey in 2017 found among U.S. adults, meditating tripled between 2012 and 2017 from about 4% to over 14%. And for children 4 to 17, it was a 10x increase from about 0.5% in 2012 to almost 5.5% in 2017. The biggest obstacle for everybody is how much time does it take? Well, there's an old Zen saying, you should sit in meditation for 20 minutes every day, unless you're too busy. Then you should sit in meditation for an hour. Fortunately, the research and my own experience is less works. More is better, but less works. Out of the now thousands of studies, here's 5 recent ones. A recent study out of Wharton showed that between 7 and 15 minutes of meditation per day made people nicer. Study out of the University of Wisconsin showed that only 10 minutes of breath counting worked. Researchers at Emory showed that after 8 weeks, it lowered the amygdala fight or flight response. Sound a little familiar? A study from UC Santa Barbara revealed that a mere 8 minutes of meditation improved concentration and reduced something we'll talk about here in a second called mind wandering. Another recent study out of Carnegie Mellon showed that after just 3 days, mind wandering was reduced. Meditators over the millennia have called mind wandering monkey mind. So what is this monkey mind? The brain is just 2% of the body's mass, but it burns 20% of the body's metabolic energy, even when we're doing nothing. So what in the world is going on when we're doing nothing and our brain is burning that much energy? As early as 400 AD, meditators caught on about how our mind can wander, jumping from one thought or feeling to another, like a monkey swinging from limb to limb. No surprise, it's a stress monster. Worrying about the past and the future, pondering about your flaws and failures, and meditation quiets it down. That would be bonus enough. But here's the real gift. Whether it's coronavirus or a different crisis or just parenting. As parents and caregivers, we now understand how critical the need is, our responsibility to reduce stress in our lives for the benefit of our children's developing brains. In your sitting practice, which we'll describe in a moment, the centerpiece of the practice is this: the focus on your breath, breathing in and out, and when your mind wanders, which it will do, as it does for all of us, you, without judgment, note the thought that distracted you, let it go, and gently return your awareness to your breath. In doing so, this is what you're doing. You're building the mental muscle to encounter difficulty, acknowledge it with less judgment and reactivity, and then act as you choose. It was once described to me this way. Look at the word responsibility. Take the word responsibility apart, and what meditation provides you becomes immediately obvious. Responsibility. Meditation gives you the ability to control your stress and your responsibility in that Julie Gottman magic moment. Does it work? Yes. I've been at it very regularly for 3 years. Here's what I know. I can still my mind. That is an extraordinary gift. I can fall asleep fast. When I don't get meditation in the morning, and that's now rare, I'm not the father I want to be. I'll lose my patience. It becomes hard to be empathetic. But when I do, it's an entirely different day. I'm more patient, I'm more empathetic, I'm less stressed. I'm giving my daughters the best of me. So, how to meditate? Properly, we can refer you to meditation sources, but I'm just going to describe it briefly so that you get the magic moment. And we'll have this description at MindEDU downloads. So sit down or lie comfortably in a chair. If you're sitting on a cushion, cross-legged, relax your shoulders, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, notice the points of contact between your body and the floor, gradually become aware you're breathing, pay attention to wherever you feel the breath the most clearly, Often that's at the nostrils or the rising and falling of your belly. Be aware of the entire cycle of the breath with a curiosity, following from the in-breath to where it pauses, and then through the out-breath where it pauses. Just let your breath come and go naturally. Don't try to control it. Think of like floating on an ocean with each wave of breath. Here's the magic. Every time your mind wanders in thought, without judgment that your mind has wandered, note the thought that distracted you and let it go as you gently return to your awareness of the breath. As Jon Kabat-Zinn describes it, if your mind wanders 1,000 times, your job is simply to repeat without judgment, noting the thought and gently returning your awareness to your breath. It is just that simple. Now, there are two major ways of practicing mindfulness through meditation. One is what's called the formal setting practice, which we just described. The second, informal practice, Jon Kabat-Zinn says, is at least as important, but only if it's combined with a formal meditation practice. And that is to be mindful. The informal is to be mindful of your breath time to time throughout the day. In doing this, you connect to the relaxation, calm, and insight and weave it into your day. For parents of young children, knowing what we know about stress on the developing brain, I think it's absolutely as important. Here's what I do. I have a very gentle reminder chime that goes off every hour on my phone to remind me to pause and connect to that state of being I achieve when I formally set. Suggestions. Set every day, even if you only have a few minutes. Do it first thing in the morning. Trust in the process. It takes a while. You don't need a guru. There are apps, but consider for 2,500 years, people in Tibet had no smartphones, so you could save your money or spend it. There are so many good websites that are free. Here's what I think are the two best. The UCLA Mindfulness Awareness Research Center, or MARC, has free guided meditations from 3 to 19 minutes that you can download. And Plus Mindfulness, which I'm sure I mispronounced. Just Google free MBSR. It's a free online program of Jon Kabat-Zinn's mindfulness-based stress reduction program. Does it get easy? Well, let's say you're in good company. Dr. Sanjay Gupta was invited to spend a morning meditating with the Dalai Lama. Wisely, he accepted the invitation. Here's what he shared from that event. Sanjay said he looked up and saw the Dalai Lama's smiling face starting to break into his characteristic laugh. Sanjay said, "This is hard for me." The Dalai Lama said, "Me too. After doing it daily for 60 years, it is still hard." Sanjay said it was at once surprising and reassuring to hear the Dalai Lama, Buddhist monk and spiritual leader of Tibet, also has trouble meditating. So, knowing that it's a challenge, would I give it up? Knowing about the impact of stress on me and my daughter's developing minds? Not a chance.